Hey everybody, and welcome to Q&A Wednesday, where I answer the questions that you have about your health and fitness goals. So, first of all, I was going to be outside because it's beautiful outside, but number one, it's too windy, and number two, my neighbor's mowing his lawn, so that didn't work out quite the way I had planned, but that's okay. It's just beautiful, so I at least have a view of the outside today. But you know, one of the things that I've noticed really on social media recently is that a lot of people are frustrated that they're putting on some weight, and I hate to say it, but my thought as people are listing, you know, gosh, I've gained 15 pounds. Like, what did you expect if you sit at home and eat cookies and watch Netflix? But I get it. Like, my first thing is going to be, don't beat yourself up. So don't worry. I'm not here to slap hands and I'm not here to judge. But I do understand the frustration because there are ways around it. So tonight we're going to talk about what you can do about the situation, especially as things start to open up a little bit. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to go back to the gym and prove to everybody that I ate myself through quarantine. Which I didn't, so that's good. I had my moments, trust me, I've had some Oreos and such, but you know, I have better coping skills than that. Plus, I've been at the other end of the spectrum. If you've looked back through my feed, especially for my business, you'll notice that I posted pictures of my original shape when I first started, or at least, you know, like 2004. At my heaviest, I was 210. So I get it. I'm 140-ish right now. While I'd like to be a little leaner, you know, that's my balance right now. Let me tell you what I love about the last probably 6 weeks is that it's been a challenge to get moving, but it's been exciting because it gives me a reason to get out, go hiking. Just honestly, I've had a daily goal with my Fitbit. You'll notice that when I start wearing it, I'm tracking myself. I'm tracking certain things, including Jennifer asked if I had caramel M&Ms. You know what? I haven't had any caramel ones. Now, I did try the brownie ones. Not as great as you would hope. And I only did it to try them because I get excited over new flavors. I still wish they'd come back with the coconut ones. But honestly, since then, I just don't bring them home because otherwise, as you know, caramel M&Ms are crack. So they can't be in my house. And we will talk about that as a part of the deal when you are trying to drop the 15 extra pounds that you've put on. But let's talk a little bit about that because, again, you know, the biggest issue is partially, I don't even know at this point if it's education anymore because, of course, if you watch anything that I do, I am consistently telling you, if you eat garbage, your body's going to store garbage because it's not good for it. So, you know, your body fat is actually your body's way of protecting you in multiple ways. And although that's not the topic for tonight, you realize that, of course, it's trying to protect your mental stability and it wants that dopamine release. We talked last week a little bit about how sugar consumption contributes to depression on multiple levels biologically. So again, you know, part of it is just, you're going to have to make a choice at this point. That I know you don't want to hear it because that requires that you take some responsibility for what's happening to you, but you need to own your choices. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is if you have put on a little bit of weight, you know, don't beat yourself up. You're not alone. It is pretty prevalent right now. I keep telling people I know I'm going to have a job coming out of this because now everybody's frustrated that their coping skills were not the ones that they'd hoped to have. So we'll talk about that as we go as well. But if you don't like where you're at, you're going to have to make different choices. That's flat out it. Most of us are adults here. We did learn that choices have consequences. And unfortunately, when you sit for a good portion of it, which a lot of us have been through quarantine, I admit I've watched more TV in the last 8 weeks than probably ever, although I still have been very, very active, especially outside my yard. But yeah, wow, there's a lot of just sitting around. So you're gonna have to be not only conscious of that, but you're gonna have to be specific. You're gonna have to make some choices to get up, move around, even if it's just within your house, running stairs. I get it, I know I talked to somebody earlier, you know, that was having difficulty finding ways to be active in the situation that she was in. And sometimes you just have to get really, really creative. You know, it's one of those things, if you want it badly enough, you're going to find a way. So that's part of it. But so the next thing I want to tell you is you're going to have to start making choices that contribute to where you want to go, right? If you don't want to continue to put on extra pounds, you're going to have to stop buying junk and alcohol. Now, find it fascinating that the liquor stores are considered essential. And although I understand to a certain degree, I know that most of us are drinking way more than is necessary. And again, I get it. Like, I totally get it. We're using it as a coping mechanism. It makes you numb, you know, you relax, you feel decent for a minute. but it's kind of like eating food, like food that you know is not healthy for you. And you have that guilt cycle of, okay, well, I eat it to feel better for a minute and I feel better, but then when I'm done, then I feel guilty for eating it. And so then I eat some more so I can feel good. It's the same situation. I was just down recycling my cans, and one of the things I thought was hilarious was there were 6 giant vodka bottles in there. And I thought, well, maybe that's from different people. But then I saw the little case from Costco that it came in, and I went, wow, they're big. Like, we're talking, I don't even know how big that is. Big vodka. I'm like, that is a lot of alcohol to be drinking, even in the 8 weeks we've all been quarantined. So again, this is going to come down to choices and owning your choices and making that choice to not bring the junk home, right? You know, I don't know if you've noticed, the stores have, even though they said something about having a shortage of protein, I have not seen a shortage of protein. The fruit and vegetables, the produce is stocked full. So right now, I'm not going to allow you to have an excuse. You either want it or you don't. Again, it's not easy. It's going to take time. You're going to have days where you fall off. We all do. I am not immune to that. It's okay. But you're going to have to make that choice. You're going to have to stop buying the junk and alcohol. You can't bring it home. The problem is that junk immediately is going to get stored as fat for the most part, because obviously you're going to absorb all of it. You're going to absorb it quick, and your body has to deal with it because it hits your system as blood. I re-say that. Hits your bloodstream as sugar immediately, and so your body has to get rid of it so it's not toxic. The problem with alcohol is that it's going to prevent you from burning fat. So if you're eating junk and drinking alcohol, you're adding to the problem from 2 different directions, right? So you have to make that choice. There is plenty of healthy food out there. You just have to make that decision. And don't tell me you can't make it to the store, because I know with delivery services and with curbside services, you have options. So again, you're gonna have to make the choice. You realize it comes down to your choice, right? Right? Number 3, you're going to have to find new coping skills. You know, I find it fascinating that people will look at those who are addicted to drugs or addicted to alcohol, you know, alcoholics, and say, wow, you know, they've got a problem. Well, if you're eating a bunch of garbage all the time, you also have a problem. Food can be an addiction. The downside is you can't just quit eating. The problem is you just got to quit eating crap. So, you know, you've got to stop using food and alcohol as a coping mechanism. You know, I saw some really interesting posts today from a couple of mental health websites that talked about the different types of coping mechanisms. And I thought they were really great. I'll have to post the one that I saw down below that I really related to. And there were 6 different ways of coping and 6 different types of coping. And number 1 was self-soothing. So that's by taking your 5 senses and allowing you to kind of, what do you hear? It's kind of almost a distraction, which we'll talk about self-distraction, but it was more of just realizing the world around you through your 5 senses so that you're not stressed out. Part of it is just being able to talk yourself down out of anxiety and the situation. And it depends on the situation, you know, whether it's stress, whether it's fear. Not gonna lie, for me, it's either stress or boredom. So, you know, I tend to either eat my feelings or I find myself looking to put something in my mouth if I'm just sitting there watching TV, which I don't like to do a lot of. So I thought the self-soothing was a really interesting one. Self-distraction is probably one of your best options. And of course, I know we've all been home and quarantined and we're kind of bored, but be creative. First of all, you can still order stuff from Amazon, but my kids and I actually once in a while will drag all coloring books out and color, and realize my youngest is 12. So we're all older and we're coloring or playing games or doing puzzles, or we try to at least once a week together as a family around the table do something fun. Sunday afternoons we tend to play card games just to keep ourselves doing something. You could do crafts if you've got younger kids around the house. You know, one of my favorite things when my kids were little is we put together little carnivals and have games, and when my sister and I were little, we used to do our own little version of Price is Right, and we'd come up with all these fun games. And back when it was no longer Drew Carey, it was whoever was before him, you know, we would pretend to be the announcer, and just get creative. I mean, that's part of it, is keeping yourself distracted with other things so that you're not thinking about the situation. Lynette says that she's still eating like she's in grow season and not pushing away. Yeah, and I would say that's another issue. You know, I work with a lot of people who are normally lifting during this time, and so the food doesn't affect them the same. Maybe they're growing muscle, so they need some of those extra calories. Of course, quality still matters, but yeah, I mean, most of us aren't doing enough to work that extra off that we're putting in our mouth. So again, that's part of it. Another way up, so that's 2 ways of self of coping. Another one is doing the opposite action. So when you're feeling super negative, find something that is super positive. So and I know these sound weird, but if you've never tried it, you can't say they don't work. Try positive affirmations. Instead of saying, I am stressed out, I'm bored, or I feel suffocated because I'm quarantined, you can say positive things like, I am becoming a better person, I'm learning a new skill, which by the way is a great idea. We all have the internet. Can you imagine trying to do this in 1989 without the use of the ability to communicate, the technology that we have? You could do something. Like, I've seriously considered taking different classes, although I have plenty of books, so I've been good. I have plenty to read. But why not learn something new? I find it fascinating that you could add to your repertoire, whether that's to contribute to something that you're going to do when you get back to work, or whether you're out of work and you need a new skill. Why not learn one? It's the perfect time for that. Number 4 is emotional awareness. Maybe pay attention to your triggers. What sets you off wanting to eat junk? Because of course you know that when that type of hunger, it's never. I swear I do not know this about my Wi-Fi, but every time we go through this, I have issues with my Wi-Fi. So we're talking about triggers that will set you off in wanting to eat. So you just have to pay attention to what is that triggers you and then find something else to do to deal with that. The next one is mindfulness, which might be meditation. This is a very stressful situation. I think a lot of us, especially, don't forget that our children are dealing with this. They're dealing with depression. They can't go outside. They can't run around. Well, they should be able to go outside now. I know certain states are opening up. I know in my area, I've been seeing people everywhere walking, biking, and I love it. They're still social distancing. So, get outside and get some vitamin D. I think it's great. So we talked about mindfulness. And then if you get to the point where you are really having a hard time, and it's okay, we call it a crisis coping skill, where you might rely on family and friends or even see a therapist. Again, there's a lot of online options right now in order to help support you. So there's good technological tools that we can use for that. So Lynette says she's asking herself, is she eating fuel or emotions? I get it. Like, food is fuel, food is information, food is nutrients. Food should not be a coping skill. It really shouldn't, because again, then we want something that's unhealthy. So, okay, so the next thing is get outside. The weather's getting warmer. It feels good. Again, you need that vitamin D. That helps your immune system. That helps you to feel better. There's just no downside to getting outside and enjoying the sun and moving around. We've just been working in our yard. It's not even a big yard, but I get outside and I feel I'm tired at the end of the day, and I like that. It keeps my head busy, and then I still feel functional. I still have somewhat of a purpose, even though I can't do my job at the moment. The next one is to find a purpose and set a goal. For me, I have to have something. I can't just say I just want to be healthier. That does not work for me. I've always been goal-oriented, so I have to have a purpose behind that. So if you are struggling to have a reason to do it, think about why. Because the why has to be so big that the obstacles don't matter, because you're going to struggle. We all do. What I think is really interesting, and don't get me wrong, I understand that we are all self-preservation at this point, but everybody thinks that they're alone in the situation. But I'm hearing from people around the world that are struggling because they're upset, they're frustrated, they're locked in their house. You are not alone. So there's no reason why you can't hop on and have a collaborative of people that are all trying to do the same thing. Stay healthy, stay mentally healthy. Come up with ideas and bounce them off each other. Again, we have an incredible way of being able to communicate through the technology that we have these days. So set a goal, find a why. Another great one is help other people. Don't you feel better when you're doing something for somebody else? Serving others is always helpful. Or if you're in a situation where you don't have a job after this, start a new business. Find something new. Get online and again, learn a new skill so that you can start a new job when you're done. Don't just sit there and wait for it to end. Be proactive at this point. The other thing that I've read that was super important when it comes to especially the situation that we're in, is you have to have a routine. If you are staying up out all hours of the night watching Netflix, and then you're sleeping in during the morning, and you get up and you have no sense of purpose, of course you're going to be depressed because you have no set schedule. I get up every morning, whether I do my cardio then or later in the day, but I get dressed, put my makeup on most of the time because I want to feel human and I want to feel like I'm still I have a normal schedule, because otherwise, I'm going to tell you, if I don't leave the house at some point of the day, even if it's just going to the mailbox or getting outside and working, I don't do as well. Like mentally, I just don't do as well. So I try to get outside and do something that's normal for me, that keeps me moving. The next one is make sure that you're communicating. Again, we have the skills and the tools to be able to do that, whether it's online, in a group, on social media. Now be careful of the social media. What I'm going to tell you is there are days I have to stay off social media for the most part. I might post something, but there's so much negativity right now on there that I'm going to tell you, those are the days I struggle, because I'm hearing people be horrible to each other and mean, and this should be about, we're all in the same situation. We should be supporting each other with love and kindness. And I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't like, not just people, it's fine to have different opinions, but then to be mean about it is unacceptable. Again, that's not going to help us get out of the situation that we're in. So make sure that you're really kind of limiting your time in that world, in the negativity, because as Lynette just said, she said, yeah, create your day. You can decide if you're going to have a good day or a bad day, but you have to determine. Even before this, I'm not going to lie, I really stayed off of watching a lot of the news. You know, I would kind of see the blips of what's going on in the world, because that's important. But because so much of it these days is so negative, I can't do that, because then I find myself becoming negative, and I don't, that it really affects how far I can go and what I can do to help people, and that's not okay with me. So Jackie, hi Jackie, she says she has to avoid the news and social media too. It does feed the fear. Again, I'm going to totally keep my opinion out of what's going on in the world right now, but you have to choose. You can choose to keep going, but if you allow the fear to get to you, you're not going to be okay, and neither is your family. You've got to find something to focus on. So number one, here's my tips for what you really need to do right now. Number one, you got to get rid of the junk in your house. If you've already bought it, I get it, but get rid of it, because if it's there, you're going to eat it. And stop bringing it home. Again, it's a choice. Make sure when you're going to go to the grocery store, make sure you've already eaten so you're not hungry while you're there. I know you've heard that tip before, but don't bring, I've literally walked through the candy aisle going, I would really like some M&Ms or some Junior Mints. And then I think, nope, if I bring it home, I'm going to eat it. I'm not taking it home. So, and don't tell me it's for the kids either, because again, now you're just being a bad example. So don't bring it home. And then find somebody to have accountability with, whether it's a coach or a friend or somebody that's within. I like to have the people that have similar goals are the ones that I communicate with most, because that way you're not getting somebody that's kind of down on your goal. They're excited for you. They want to teach you how to get there or be part of your journey. Somebody that's supportive. So find somebody that you can have as your accountability partner, and that will help keep you on track. I think that's really super important. You know, I started a couple of challenges on Facebook in a couple different directions, just to help people stay on track, so they had something to do, something to focus on. So if you're really, really off track, you're not where you want to be, shoot me a quick message. Let me help you. By the way, I do let all my clients text me at any time, because I'm aware the psychological part is the hardest part of setting a health goal. So keep that in mind, that yeah, the physical part's part of it, but the mental emotional is even more important. So hopefully that helps you to, even if you caught one or two things that can help you to get out of the situation, get you started back on the right track. Hopefully the gyms will be opening soon. I know here in Washington, technically they're phase 3, which sucks for us, but again, most of us have been fairly creative. If you want it badly enough, you're gonna find a way. So have an incredible week, you guys. Please go out and enjoy the sun, get active, get moving, do something, and make sure you're doing something for your head as well. Have a great night.